A big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. Today's guest is very interesting as it's going to be all about music. Music is something that defines not just the world, but Indians especially, with their grand love for music across genres. And today I'm sitting with the Spotify India captain, Amarjit Singh Batra, to give me a sense of how Spotify's journey has been over the last 4 years, how it's been performing, what are the next big set of challenges he wishes to overcome, and of course, major consumer trends in India versus, of course, the rest of the world. Thank you so much, Amarjit. Truly a pleasure having you on the show. I am very excited about this particular interview, as I'm sure my audience is, because most of them would probably have a Spotify account.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here, and it's exciting to be talking about music, which we think about it every day.
A 4-year journey for Spotify so far, 5 years for you. The last time I met with you, you were at OLX. Let me start by asking you, how's the pivot been? Such different businesses, such different genres, and of course, hence requires such different expertise.
Yeah, I think both are digital businesses in a way, so I think in a way that transition was good. I've always been a huge fan of music since my childhood days, and when I always used to think that if at some point in time, I would love to work in music or sports, and music here it is. So I think I can't be more thankful and grateful for what I'm doing right now. And it's been a phenomenal journey for us in Spotify in India, because when we came in 4 years back, I've been 5 years now. 1 year spent in preparation. It's been great because we've realized that this is a huge market and very different from our global markets where people have 1 or 2 languages in the country. We have 22 official languages plus many others, and people listen to music differently. People have grown up on different mediums in a way. I think the CDs and the cassettes itself didn't penetrate the full market completely. Sure. So I think it's been a fabulous journey from our side, from learning, understanding and maneuvering into this market to be where we are, and I love to talk about it. Yeah.
What's the one big stark difference that you notice when you talk of the India market in terms of sheer music and its consumption versus the rest of the world?
Yeah, the biggest, it's a no-brainer. The biggest one is that it's a film-driven market.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
it's like if you look at India versus anywhere else in the world, 80%, 90% of the music in this country, or the best music which came in from music, from films.
Sure.
And the film industry, Bollywood, but there are so many woods in this country.
Yeah.
Whole south of India is film-driven market. Unlike others, where it's mostly artist-driven. And I think that stark difference itself changes the way the industry operates.
But do you see the market evolving? Do you see, Indians now looking and following artists as a slow and upcoming trend? But do you see that happening? Do you see that something that's going to possibly burst in the next decade or so, or we are going to be limited to our film music, whether it be the Hindi film industry or other industries?
No, it's not only the trend is changing. We are in fact, part of the, driving that trend, in fact, riding that trend, in fact, creating that trend.
Okay.
Because when we came in, we realized that this is great, India market is great, but if you look at the potential of the market, I think if you look at in this country, if you look at a country of a size, I mean, 1.3 billion people, how many people should be there as top artists? And you'll feel that there were hundreds. They're not, and maybe total artists would be a few thousands.
Sure.
And I think this country has a potential to have few lakhs or maybe 1 million artists, musicians in the country. So, and by the way, music goes very deep into our country, and you look at the history and so on. So it's not that we don't have music or artists. We didn't have that. So we make that as one of the biggest goal when we started Spotify in India, that we will focus on films because that's where the major music is.
Yeah.
We'll not neglect that. We'll give that equal importance. But our major interest and focus would be that over the next 5 to 10 years, we are here for the long term. We are not here to come and do short-term work. We want to take Indian musicians, Indian artists, and we want to take them to the world stage.
That we're a country with a lot of potential is a statement we've heard for now at least 2 decades, right? And still hearing it. But the point is, are we, converting our potential into actual reality at the pace that, you know, corporates, whether it's Indian or it's multinationals or different players, are envisaging? Or is it a market that is looking lovely and luscious because of its grand number of people which stands at 1.4 billion? Is that, you know, that large population versus actually consuming population, paying population, becoming increasingly difficult for players across the world who are entering India and Indian players?
Yeah. No, so I'll break this into, you know, the artist-driven music from the way we see it and the
Sure.
way we are building it.
Sure.
Okay, so you know, if you look at the whole landscape of music in this country, there is only one language, I mean, which is Punjabi, where artist-driven music is doing very well from the long time. Because there, I think it's films are great, but films are, you know, not necessarily needed to succeed. Whereas in all other languages, music has been primarily film-driven, mostly, I think, if I would say. But what we have seen in the last 4 years, as we have built this up, we have seen that what it needs is that we need to there are enough artists. What they don't have is a platform. So first we created a platform for them. So we created a program called Radar India.
Yeah.
And Radar India is a program where we encourage, we find, you know, young artists and who are successful, and we bring them under a program. We have a playlist and we do many other things like master classes and so on. But we also started doing events now. So we want to bring more and more, we profile them, so idea is to make them stars.
Sure.
And of course there are labels and partners helping them out, but it's our job to also help be out there. So that is Radar India. And then we also realize that, but there are many artists who are not even very, very there's very early stages of their career. So then we launched something called Fresh Finds. Fresh Finds is a way for us to identify a talent who has never been anywhere out there. You know, Radar India is still a little higher than that. So these are programs that we came up and developed out there to do that. Second thing we have been doing, and this being for the last 4 years, is that we believe that very important for people, artists to figure out is how do they kind of bring their music on Spotify and how do they leverage a platform like Spotify. And that's one of the biggest things that we did over the last 4 years, because before, you know, we came in, there was platforms were like black boxes. You could not know exactly what is helping you to succeed. Even good artists couldn't know why I'm succeeding and what can I do differently. But Spotify brought a lot of data transparently for the artists through Spotify for music, Spotify for Artists as an app, and analytics can be seen. Then we had ways for people to do master classes with us. We did master classes all over India, and we're still doing it, where we tell artists how to go about, you know, like succeeding on Spotify, how do they build their music and so on and so on. So this is the fundamental grassroots work that we believe we are doing. On the upper end of the side of it, we are actually looking at all the top artists who are performing well, and we are building great playlists for artists, so that, because in the end of it, we understand that people don't listen to songs anymore. Remember, we used to listen to CDs and cassettes. Yeah. There used to be albums, but you know, sometimes you listen to one song out of that. But the trend has now in digital is all about Spotify playlists, and Spotify is pretty good with playlists. Yeah. We have 3 types of playlists. We have algorithm playlist recommended for you through technology. We have editor-led playlists, which we have Spotify editors who make playlists for you. And then as a user, you know, as a listener, you can make your own playlist.
Sure.
So the job of editors picking up the best artists and best genres and clubbing them into a playlist was something that we started doing. And if you look at the last 4 years, there are many playlists in different areas. Like there's a playlist called Indie India. Indie India is all independent music, you know, which is there. It has grown 200% over last year.
Okay.
We have playlist called Punjabi 101, which is the flagship playlist on Punjabi. Every Punjabi artist wants to be on that playlist because that's the playlist out there. So we actually promoted playlists out there, and we promoted them through our marketing campaigns and our platform and so on and so on. The third is we have been working very closely with all the new releases which happens, whether it is in the film or whether it's in the artist. A lot are now happening with the artists, where we kind of help promote them, help get them even across India, because Spotify today has 551 million users around the world, which is 55 crores. Yeah. And 184 countries. So, and a lot of these people are also listening to Indian music, you know, like UK, US, Australia, Canada, and so on. So we are also making sure that we work with our global teams to make sure that in their listening playlists and so on, some of this music comes in. So there is this, I'm just giving you a flavor of the work that we do, but that has actually helped propel the whole, influx of artists wanting to succeed and getting a chance to succeed and then actually succeeding. Our subs we call subscriptions or the premium users we call them. That's growing at a very good pace.
Is it?
Yeah, we're going at a we actually.
I thought that would be a big challenge in India.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge. When we came in, it was a bigger challenge. It's still a challenge because when we came in, there was hardly any habits out there to pay for music.
Yeah.
In the last 4 years, we have been able to get that habit in. So we have been better off at what the numbers used to be earlier in terms of percentages and so on. But we are still not that close to our global averages. Okay, so our journey is on.
So I'm curious to know this 200% growth you've seen in your subs. Which markets have driven it? I mean, my straight up assumption would be that they would be from metros and possibly tier 1 cities, and maybe now your focus would move to tier 2 and tier 3. But where are the paying markets really?
See, Spotify is, Spotify has grown tremendously over the last, so I was talking to subs number, but if you look at the overall user base, we have probably quadrupled in the last 2.5 years.
Okay.
It's at that.
Aided by COVID, I'm assuming.
4 times. After COVID, yeah, you can say after the recovery, I think we have been growing very, very well. The reason I'm sharing you this data point is that because of that, or result of that, we've actually, now in 7,500 cities or towns in this country. So technically, Spotify has gone that deep in the country, and it's a great place to be because the brand is becoming household name in a way, and it's synonymous with music and so on.
I know that a plan to bulk up, whether it's your advertising revenue or your subscribers over the next 5 years. When you talk about metro and tier 1 towns which possibly have higher conversion rates to becoming a premium member vis-a-vis other tiers in the country, how are you going to convince people who are, which is your limited market of metros and tier 1, to penetrate further? How much of that headroom scope is there to kind of make more conversions for subs?
So I think there are 2 parts to this question if I were to answer it. One part is that the value that you get from the music, and the one is why should I pay? Okay, that's the part. I mean, there's a little different. So if you look at the value part of it, I think the value that we add from the premium music is quite a bit. Now the question is, if you're not habitual, or if you're not really, you have high tolerance for ads and you don't need downloads, then you can obviously live without music for some time.
Yeah.
But if you look at the real value of a brand, I mean, if I ask you on different products we buy a coffee today, it costs us, what is the difference in the price of a good coffee versus in US versus in India? It would not be more than 2 times, okay? Let's take it this thing.
Sure.
I mean, if you buy a car in this country, a car is actually 1.5 to 2x of a US price.
Wow.
Okay, I mean, because of the duties and so on, depending on the car. Now let's take a Spotify subscription. A Spotify subscription in US cost $10.99, $11 almost.
For a year? For a month?
For a month.
For a month.
And a Spotify subscription in India is, so let's take it in dollars term, is $1.3. So the question is that, and I think if people can pay double for the car or pay more for the car, people can pay almost for everything else, people pay more for everything else, why they are not able to pay for, let's say, something which is available 5x cheaper or at least 7x cheaper than what a US customer would pay.
So let me get a sense from you. If the average, the global average is that 40% of your users are premium users, and of course we have a long road to hit that in India. What is your take? If I ask you to crystal gaze, when will we reach a 40%?
First question is, do we need to be at 40%?
I don't know.
No, I mean, I don't think so. So because, see, in the end of it, for Spotify, I think we are not focused on driving a percentage conversion or something.
Yeah, sure.
We are here working across so many markets, and they're so different from each other. And I think our founder, Daniel Ek, has a very long-term view to business. He doesn't want to do short-term. Of course, we are a listed company, but still, I think we are thinking long term. So what's important for us is to do the right thing. And the right thing for us is to grow the market and grow the music industry. Because we, in a way, Spotify has in a very short time become a market leader of sorts in this market from all angles. So it's our job to grow the market.
Would you say you're the market leader?
I don't want to comment on specific, but I think there are many areas where let's maybe dwell down. I mean, we are the most loved brand. Okay.
Sure.
So I think if you look at from every angle, I think people, the amount of followership on Spotify everywhere is very huge. Second is that if you look at from artist side of it, because in the end we are a platform, so we have artists and we listeners. So if you look at from the artist, when they look at their success, Spotify streams have become the success currency for them. It's a very big thing. So that means, when they release a song and the new music is done, the amount of success what they have is defined by what success they get on Spotify. If you look at the way we have built the market in India, like I said about the black box, about people didn't know what it is, we have built a transparency around the insights you can gain in this market about the platform, which no artist in this country was ever exposed to.
Okay.
So now there are people who are even successful today, an artist, a big artist, who are now figuring out where their audiences lie. And that's why I give them a chance to go do shows there or gives them a chance to prepare and so on. So that transparency on metrics or maybe on transparency on data, which allows them to get better, is not there. And I think lastly, I think if you look at, I would say that engagement. I mean, because in the end of it, I won't give you specific numbers, but an engagement is how much time a person would spend listening to music on this platform versus a similar platform. That number is multiple times. I would not be able to tell you, maybe if you look at ComScore or somewhere, that number is very, very huge. But even if I don't pick up that number, that is multiple times of any other out there.
I'm curious about this, several Indianized, customized plans you have for India. For instance, 7 rupees per day. How are Indian users behaving? Why would I take a Spotify day plan? And how does that work? What are you seeing customers do?
Yeah, so the whole idea of having the customized plans out there is that we realize that this market is not used to pay in a year or a month subscription, because in certain cases recurring was also not that easy. Now with UPI and everything, it's become even more easier. So we felt that it's important to introduce plans which people might relate to. And the 7 rupee pricing, which is for a day, or 25 rupees, which is for a week, which is called the Premium Mini, which basically was launched from the perspective that in India has a sachet culture. So if you go back to the whole piece, people were not consuming a full bottle of shampoo, they were buying these small packets and so on and so on. So we felt that the sachet culture will build people the habit, and it's a habit, and it's also about utility. So we've seen people, you're surprised, there are a lot of people who buy Premium Mini. Some people buy it for a day, some people buy it for a week. Some people come back and buy it again every week, or maybe once in another week or so in that month. But a lot of people also upgrade to the major other plans, because then they realize that the 7 rupee plan or the 25 rupee plan, they just need to pay, like 100 rupees and they can pay for a month, or let's say $1,000 and they can get it for a year. And sometimes we have good offers going on, so you can even get it slightly cheaper. So in a way, people are realizing that, and it's a journey we have. We have other plans like family plan where 4 people can come in, or a duo plan where 2 people can come in, student plan, and so on and so on. So we have other plans, and the idea is to give people the choice that they have. It's like, I'm using the car example. You should have options for everybody.
Yeah. So your road to profitability, Amarjit, what is that looking like?
No, it's looking good, because in a way, I think like I said, I'll quote my founder on this, because when I started Spotify, that was my first meeting with him, and I think he told me only one thing, that you have to think long term. In the market like India, it's a strategic market. We are happy to support. It's not going to be easy. And I think if you look at the way the team has been building, and I think we have a fabulous team, I think, who's really passionate, I think, and really want to do the right things and feel responsible for such a big responsibility that has been given on us to build a platform and a market like India. At this stage, we are implementing certain plans. For example, let me break it down. So we have focused on growth earlier, and I think the whole objective was that people in India never used to listen to streaming in a big way. So we've done many building blocks around that, from product to communication and reaching out to consumers and so on and so on. The next stage is where we realize that now we have a lot of users, and some people are paying, some people are not. Who are paying, we want to make more of those people, and we want to give them option. We want to offer maybe new things to them, hopefully in the future. But people are not paying. We have an ad-free ad platform, so we want to develop our ad sales business. So if you look at the last year, and you must have seen, we have been doubling down on our ad sales team and hiring
and lots
that
of
team.
job opportunities.
Absolutely. So we want to make sure that we are also doing justice to the large base that we're developing there, and be able to monetize it well. And I think lots and lots of brands, and in fact, you ask any brand in the country, what is the number one thing you want to engage with? And they'll say music. And we are there sitting next to them, and our sales team, when they goes for meeting, there's hardly anybody who doesn't want to talk about it, and hardly anybody says, I don't want to work with Spotify. So I think it's such an amazing response that we are getting in the market. So we're just doubling down on that.
I completely, agree with your enthusiasm for the Indian market. But, just looking at the trends, whether it be the Netflixes of the world or it be any other OTT platform, audio or video, I think there's so much struggle with the Indian market because the tolerance for not paying and listening to ads and just that whole mindset, whether it be my business, the media business, which has been such an old business, but still we're struggling. Newspapers are still cheap. News channels, the subscription is laughable. And so hence it is still a very, very ad-dominated market. And it seems like that domination will continue for some time, right? In such a situation for Spotify, of course, I'm sure you've been a man who's headed several businesses, so you are more than aware of Indian practices. This paying habit may come, but it's a slow and steady kind of pickup. It's not something where we're actually going to see the value to pay. So this, when you talk about focusing on the ad revenues, which is a unique offering Spotify is giving to work with music, in this very cluttered market where you have Twitter, you have Insta, you have other different tidbits which is growing digitally, and I'm only talking digital, right? Because that pie, of course, by all predictions, is going to grow the most compared to TV and print. How are you going to become that dominant, stand-out, most attractive player for brands and ensure you get increasing, market share?
I think I don't want to use the word dominant or attractive, but I would say that we are here to be the best partner. Okay, we want to be the best partner for the brands because we know we are building a brand ourselves in this market. We know it's not an easy place to build a brand, and not an easy place to also build a business. So we understand brands, and I think we want to partner with the brands to make sure that we become a place where they come to for their needs, and their business needs could be different, and we want to make sure that we are there for solving that.
Sure.
And regarding India being a difficult business, I think isn't that the
the beauty.
The beauty of
Sometimes
it. Because
you don't need so much beauty, Amarjit.
Yeah. I think it's. I will say that. I mean, the beauty or whatever you would say. But the question is, I think you can't change India as a market overnight.
You talked about several offerings. Music, of course, primary offering, but podcasts has been looked at as an offering, at least envisaged as something that will take off. Would you say globally, and this is not an India-specific question, globally, the world thought that podcast was the next big thing and invested heavily in it. Do you think that kind of, crystal gazing into thinking that would take off was right?
It's still the next big. Yeah. I'm a huge believer in podcast. In podcast, I think it's a faster thing. When podcast as a medium became popular and it became visible to everyone, everybody said podcast would be big. Now everybody is not saying that. Maybe few people are saying that. For Spotify, podcast is a very strong integral part of our business because we believe that music is one area where people listen to. We also say in podcast about
people will pay for podcasts.
So I think people will pay for content or subscriptions. The question is, how do we charge for podcasts is a different thing. For example, how do we earn money from podcasts is a different thing. So podcasts may or may not be part of subscriptions,
Sure.
but it could be a great place for advertisers to be there. So podcast monetization, if you look at today, I mean, if you look at the top podcasters of the world, they're making tons of money from host rates, from sponsorships within that piece, because that content or that audience is so valuable. It's a very different audience from this. You are getting a captive audience,
yeah.
and the whole brand recall value is huge. We are doing a program called Awaz, where we are trying to find great voices in this country who are associated with culture, subject matters, and we want to bring them on. We are running programs like Level Up, where we are giving a chance to creators to work with us so that we can help them go to the next level.
Okay.
So we are working on such programs. We are creating podcast demand, but we believe that this journey on podcast is going to be so huge. It's very difficult to predict today, and this is a time when doubts will come for a lot of people. I think, and doubts will go.
Okay, what do you see as the biggest challenges as somebody who's leading the India business today as we go forward?
I think the biggest challenge is to do justice to a large market like this, because when we came in 4 years back, we realized, look at the languages and say, wow, so much content. And then we said, okay, how do we focus on it? Because you cannot just go out there and do everything. So we actually focus on few languages like Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Punjabi, which are top languages out there. Now, if you ask me what is our next plan, we are focusing on the next set of languages, which are huge. I mean, Bhojpuri is becoming very, very big. Haryanvi is becoming very big. Just to give a context, Bhojpuri, songs or playlists is one of them among our top 100 playlists in the world.
In the world?
Can you believe it?
Why?
It's becoming successful. Bhojpuri is
You mean
popular.
to say that the West is listening to Bhojpuri?
No, it's India. It's enough Indians are listening to
Indian
Bhojpuri.
diaspora, yeah,
There are some, by the way. There are some people outside who are listening, and that's maybe for a separate discussion. A lot of people actually went from India outside globally, and a lot of music globally is inspired from Bhojpuri. By the way, there's a music called chutney music, which a lot of people don't know. I think somewhere in the the West Indies side of it, where it is inspired from Bhojpuri. So in a way, there are enough people who like that music. I'm not saying that's where the actual consumption is happening. It's happening in India, but it's a very strong, strong language today.
What about challenges where your deals and alliances have to go through negotiations? We've seen some deals fall off the table, mutual negotiations continue. But
You mean content side of it?
Content side of
Yeah,
it.
so I think
and labels.
Absolutely. So I think Spotify, like I said, we have 100 million songs, okay, around on a platform. Every partner, every artist works with us globally everywhere, and we work with everybody. And we are not really now. Sometimes at given point of time, some content may or may not be available because ultimately these are deals you have to sign to
Absolutely.
get the content there. And yes, of course, during this time, there's some content which may or may not be available, but there's almost parallel. We are constantly adding new content. So if you look at even in India, I think we've been constantly adding new content, and I think it takes time because there are so many small, like labels or artists who are coming up there. We are constantly adding also. What we are worried about is our users getting the right content available to them, and I think people rely a lot on our playlists and content and recommendations, and I think we haven't found any issue from our listeners who basically are very happy with the kind of recommendations we give them or by the content available on the platform. And that piece is, I think, is always a challenge to keep getting better in that. But I think I would not consider that as a challenge. Yeah.
But tell me, you talked about getting into newer languages, right? So for example, if you're, let's say, looking at now exploring Gujarati music, Gujarati, are there enough people in Gujarat who would want to come onto Spotify that you're investing in a market like that? Is it justified? Because it's not popular. Punjabi music across India is popular from the south to the north. So yes, it's justified. I'm saying, for smaller languages where music is not known beyond that region,
Yeah.
Does
But do
it
you know
justify-
every Gujarati marriage that happens, do you know which singers they call for performing?
Sukhbir.
They call a Punjabi singer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So they listen to Punjabi songs also. I mean,
Yeah.
and do you know what they sing? They don't sing only Punjabi songs. They sometimes sing Gujarati songs. They sing in Gujarati also.
Oh, the Punjabi
Yeah,
singers.
they sing that. So the thing is that, see, this is the beauty of our country. I mean, if you look at it, I think we haven't tapped. I think as a country we have not tapped that well, and I hope we can tap it and we can help tap that also. Is that we have these amazing languages and we also mix languages and speak and so on. I believe that every language in every place has potential to develop. You know, for example, if you were surprised at Bhojpuri being so successful, and I was also surprised a couple of years back when I saw that developing, but that's what the way it is. And tomorrow Gujarati language could be really great in music. I don't know. I mean, I'm not the best person to comment there, but they are also developing. Their artists are singing, and I think they're getting better. The question out there is, how do we help in collaboration? I think at Spotify we also work towards helping artists collaborate. So from different parts of the country or from India and global artists, which allows us to kind of break this, like thing about getting out. So let's say if I'm a Punjabi sitting out there, I'm exposed to a Gujarati artist. Okay, why not? I mean, that could be part of a 2-3 singers singing out there, and you develop. And if you look at a lot of Punjabi songs today, they have Bengali in that sometimes. You know, Badshah's recent song had Bengali in that. So in a way, I think the opportunity to develop music, with 3 or 4 languages in this country is huge. And I think that potential is yet to be tapped.
Here.
Yet to be tapped. In fact, we are also tapping grassroots stuff. For example, there is a lot of opportunity to go after classical music, the grassroots music, folk music.
Yeah.
So we are all focused on those kind of things also. So I think those are challenges because nobody is focusing on them.
Yeah.
So at Spotify, we have decided, so we have now just launched a program called Echo. Echo is basically bringing music from the real roots of the country. For example, tabla, sitar, flute. And the idea is to bring that music out. And we believe that a lot of people listen to it. And I've been listening to that music while working, and it's fantastic. I'll send you the playlist.
Users listening to music, how similar or how different is the India market compared to, its peers?
So we are the only market around the world which has got the highest amount of local content consumption. Our content consumption is on local music is as high as 70%. So that is completely different from other markets where a lot of global content dominates the local consumption in the countries. So that's the biggest difference. The rest of it is a little bit about how people consume music. We have 22 languages, so a lot of our content comes from different languages. So that's the second big difference.
So before I let you go, Amarjit, going to play a quick rapid fire. So like Spotify, ensure you're fast and don't buffer. Your favorite track at the moment, Amarjit's favorite track?
Tu Jhoom.
Tu Jhoom. Spotify's #1 trending song in India?
Checks.
#1 artist currently trending in India?
Shubh.
Shubh. #1 market for you in terms of users?
Toss up between Delhi and Mumbai. Yeah.
#1 market in terms of language for music?
Hindi, I think, if you look at North India, I would say.
And South India?
Huge Tamil. Tamil is big. Telugu is #2. Yeah.
Okay. And if I had to ask you one desire or one wish, if it could be granted in terms of, changing things in India, what would it be?
Paying for premium for Spotify should be like drinking a cup of tea
Fair
every day.
enough. Fair enough. Well, hopefully that journey will be ongoing. Thank you so much for your time, Amarjit.
Thank you so much. Bye.